Hey, what's up, and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars, where today I'm going to be talking about a brand new film hitting VOD on August 10th. It's Rising Wolf. Rising Wolf is ultimately about a young woman that wakes up kidnapped and trapped on an elevator that keeps failing, plummeting down several dozen feet at a time, all controlled by a group of terrorists that want information from her. Meanwhile, they also have her father captive, and they're torturing him to force her to talk. During all of this, she's getting mysterious memories of her childhood and the magic she has that may be the key to fixing her situation. This is honestly a fascinating film for a variety of reasons, as it works for a couple of different audience members. Firstly, it works as a solid one-location thriller that hones in on those anxieties that folks have about confined spaces, elevators in general, heights, and a few others. In that respect, the thrills in this film are effective, and because this film is also in part a fantasy, it can appeal to those fantasy fanatics, as there's this other aspect of the film that has to deal with the possibility of power, and honestly, finding it within yourself to overcome your obstacles, whatever they may be. These two aspects are pretty strong in the film, and I think it definitely achieved what it was going for in blending the two ideas that don't normally go together. Also, I love films that focus so heavily on one location, especially when they can essentially turn that one spot into a character in and of itself. And the elevator in this film is essentially that, it's kind of a character. You'll get used to the unusual layout this elevator has with the one wall made entirely out of video monitors. You'll also really dig the visuals of the film when it came down to the elevator when it constantly started dropping, sending this young girl to the roof every single time. The way that it's shot is a lot better than it would have initially anticipated, especially towards the end of the film when things are coming to a head. It's easily an extremely entertaining and fascinating watch, which is obviously what it was going for from the beginning. But what about some negatives? Well, honestly, I think the biggest negative here is simply the fact that the mashup between thriller and fantasy wasn't entirely needed. The movie would have worked on its own as a claustrophobic elevator thriller, or it would have worked entirely on its own as a fantasy film introducing us to this mysterious girl and what she can do. But when it combined the two ideas, it both sometimes worked and sometimes didn't, as I feel like the balance between the ideas weren't always entirely even. What do I mean by that? I mean, they'll go on a long, uninterrupted part in the film where all they do is the very down-to-earth, grounded, realistic, claustrophobic elevator stuff. And then they'll focus for a long time on the fantasy stuff, as if they didn't really know how to do them both at the same time, because maybe the two ideas really did clash at times. I like the premise, for sure, and I ultimately dug how it all came together by the third act, but sometimes getting to that part wasn't as smooth and as even, and it was even repetitive. There's only so many times you can drop the elevator and toss this girl inside of it around like a rag doll, right? I felt like the film didn't always have enough material to keep things fresh. And so, yeah, some things felt repetitive. But overall, I think it was a solid thriller that wasn't really trying to win awards by being perfect or a masterpiece, but instead something incredibly fresh and different, and it did achieve that. Let's go ahead and look at my final score for a second. From a technical, unbiased perspective, I can say that Rising Wolf is solid. It's not the best film I saw all year round, nor is it anywhere near the worst. There's a lot of thought put into the production and set design of this elevator, and the special effects were especially surprising. The premise as well was indeed bold, but not everything worked either, so this score is 78%. My bias score agrees with that entirely, because yeah, I had a good time with it, not gonna lie. I mean, it was repetitive at times, and the mashup of themes was sometimes more bold than it was something that worked. But in general, I see that it achieved what it went after, so I gotta give that props and say that my bias score is also 78%. When we combine the two scores together, we obviously come down to the final rating of 78%, 78 out of 100 possible stars, or a B letter grade. Guys, have you seen Rising Wolf? If so, let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section down below, and if you haven't seen it yet, are you looking forward to it? As for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe button, and bell to be notified when I come up with my next review. And until then, peace out!
Dave examines just watch for fun. Davey is the expert. He